They say God is good. Well, if God is good, then Caleb Williams is great. What's up, everybody? Adam Pecora here, and welcome to Requiem for a Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. Before we start slurping up one Caleb Williams for preseason week 1, setting myself up for heartbreaking disaster, I'm going to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe to Requiem for a Tuesday wherever you listen, or even where you don't, because then you don't got to worry about seeing it. We're on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all the places. You name it, you can go find it. We got some other goodies for you to listen to. Justice has a show, Microwave Minutes. If you haven't watched that, check that out. It's better on YouTube, to be honest. But hey, whatever you like, it's available. We got Multiplex, Wolf X, lots of music for you to enjoy. You can follow me on Instagram, Adam.RFAT. If you're interested in any merch for the show, rfat.bigcartel.com. We got a bunch of links. Not really. There's like 2 links in the description below that can take you to multiple places. And you can find all the stuff I just mentioned and maybe more. I don't know. Check out the links below. Give us a rate. Give us a subscribe. What else? Whatever else you can do that's good for us, do it. That would be awesome. Thanks, everybody, for listening and supporting the show. Now, double before we get into the Caleb Williams, I got a bit of a personal gripe that I need to get off my chest here because, frankly, if I don't do it, I will develop a tumor or have an aneurysm or something of that nature, and I will drop dead in a fit of rage. Let me just paint a picture for you, ladies and gentlemen. I have never lived in a building or home or whatever any type of living arrangement with less people than I currently have right now. I got a roommate, friend of the show. Ricky's been on a couple episodes. If you could, I don't know which ones, so I can't list them out, but if you can find them, they're there. Great guy. And then I have a downstairs neighbor. I could get into a million things, frankly, but I'm just going to stick to the point that I originally had set up here. I go downstairs to do my laundry. It's about 3:30 on a Sunday. Okay? I feel like Sunday, pretty standard laundry day for a lot of people, you know? And hey, sometimes you go down to do laundry, washer's taken, whatever, it happens. I get that the world does not revolve around me, which is the problem that I'm going to unveil to you here. So, in this case, washer's free, dryer's occupied. Now, dryer's already done. Stuff's just sitting in there. So I'm like, all right, I could run the washer here. Guy went out, whatever, in a few hours at the very least, I should be able to just pop my stuff in and get it all done. Pretty standard stuff. I get, again, I get it. I have a neighbor. I don't get to do anything. I don't get it on demand whenever I want, right? So, I go check, 6 o'clock. Things still there. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's just still there. Just sitting there. Maybe, I didn't count or really peek in, but a very small dryer run. We're talking 12 articles of clothing at the most. Doesn't even fit the bottom cylinder. Wouldn't even fill it in. Doesn't go above the door level at all. There's barely any clothes in there. I go down there about 9:30, 10 o'clock. The dryer's running again. And it's like, what? How did you not get it done the first time? Go down the next morning. The dryer's running again. It's like, dude, do you not know how this works? So it's like, first of all, you're being selfish by just taking this thing over for all day, just the dryer for barely any clothes. You see that you have your neighbor running the washer. And there's no sense of urgency or, just neighborly instincts to be like, all right, I should wrap this up. Somebody else trying to get their clothes done. Like, have some common courtesy, the whole fabric of society in which we all live or are supposed to, especially in a city in which you have neighbors who live literally above you. You haven't learned that you don't get to just treat this as your personal washer-dryer combo. And then I get back from work today and it's still sitting there. And it's like, so what? Do you like run the dryer 15 minutes at a time and hope that it gets everything just right because you're super afraid of over drying and shrinking or something? I just don't even understand what could run through somebody's mind or how they could make, one, how you could be this selfish, but two, how you could be this bad at doing laundry that it takes you 2 days to get like 10 shirts dry with a dryer. And, it's like, now my shit's going to be all moldy. I get it. You just wash it again, but it's like, now I got to use more detergent. Like, the more supplies thing for me, whatever. I use another Tide Pod. Not a big deal. But it's just the sheer, just holding it hostage, consuming my time, making me have to constantly check just to get my own shit done. It's like, hey, man, just be a person. Am I wrong here? Because I don't think so. Absolutely absurd situation. And the reason why I'm as fired up, this is not the first time this has happened, to which you could say like, oh, well, Adam, then maybe you should just wait until everything is free. And it's like, I suppose, but just on principle, I shouldn't have to. Can we just be normal? And it's like, all the anger in me, I want to be my instinct, or really just like my anger instinct, I guess. I don't know if it's not my natural instinct. That's why I haven't done it. But I want to just leave that note. Like, hey, other people live here too. Something. But why? Nothing good will come of it, and I'm aware of that. So that's why I'm vocalizing it here today for all you fine people. But I literally can't wrap my head around it, and I can't accept it, and it's just complete bullshit. And the one argument you could make is, hey, be a man, and just like, be like, hey, man, you mind just doing this, please? Being nice still, but, a man and competent. But I won't. It's bullshit. Okay. Tell me that's not bullshit. I'm so upset. All right. Moving on. Preseason week 1. The greatest trap you could ever fall into, But we're back. We're doing the same thing that we've done the past 3 years. And, last year, this will be the 3rd year in a row that I've done this, but so 3 years ago, I was just like, look, Justin Fields, the most talented quarterback, at least like in terms of like just physical abilities the Bears have ever had. And technically that may still even be true just because of how large and fast, like just that pure combination of athleticism is. That may still be true. What was missing, we now know. What was completely missing, which nobody knew for sure. This is the thing. You never know. Can they read an NFL defense? Can they adjust to the NFL speed? Can they elevate the players around them? Can they overcome tough situations? Now, the toughest situation in the NFL, year 1, so that's a steeper climb for anybody. The answer to all of that was no. The guy can't read a defense. The guy can't play within an offense. He cannot throw the ball on time. He can't hit his back foot and pull the trigger. Pretty much just couldn't throw over the middle in general. And just was a chicken with his head cut off most of the time back there. Didn't know what was coming. Didn't really know the proper move to react. Was just so purely athletic that he was able to scrape by. And I hope that he improves, and I wish him well, truly. I was, unlike Mitch, where I was never on board, was super upset, and he sucked the whole time. And it was a pleasant surprise 2018 even happened, but he still was not good as that year unfolded. So I can at least say that, Fields was the first time I had really been all in since the Jay Cutler trade, which also, didn't work out very well overall. In Bears terms, best QB in history, which is very sad, and we all know that. But Caleb Williams, this is what's different about it this time around. Obviously, number one, the supporting cast, compared to what Justin had year one and even last year, astronomical improvements. Number two, the scheme, astronomical improvements, having a real proven offensive coordinator with a strong track record who knows what he's doing. Luke Getsy's offense was terrible. We were destined to fail. And look, I get it. If you go back to this time last year, I probably wasn't saying any of this. I don't really remember. But I know that I had to talk myself into a lot more, at least in retrospect, than right now. The difference between then and now, more than anything, outside of Caleb's much deeper array of talents, is just there's no counter argument to this. This is, if they don't do well, it's a failure. Whereas the Bears would have had to exceed what expectations were to achieve what I thought they could achieve. This year, they went 7-10 last year and blew 4 fourth quarter leads, I believe the number is. 2, let's say, had to go that way. They should have won 9 games, and they actually won 7. If they can't win 7 this year, they have completely backslid despite adding talent. If they hit 7, I would still consider that a disappointment. This team needs to win 8, 9, 10. The real number for me is 9, but if they win 8, whatever. You still technically improved. As long as things look good, that is fine. But I feel like the realistic expectation for this team is 9 to 10 wins. And I don't mean they potentially could do it. I think that is the floor for what we need to base this season on. Now, if something happens and the defense totally craters and falls apart or whatever, and Caleb still looks great and maybe not puts up good numbers, but looks the part and shows improvement throughout the year, then ultimately it doesn't matter what the win-loss total is for this season. But I'm just saying the true, and ESPN and everybody's trying to downplay it, because he's a rookie, we shouldn't level up. Listen, when you improve every position except maybe D tackle and, offensive guard, because we just didn't add anybody, we're expecting guys to step up, like Javon Dexter, apparently supposed to step up big time. When all of that is the case, you have to be better. When you add Rome Odunze and Keenan Allen, and even Gerald Everett as a second tight end, and even DeAndre Swift as a lead back, even though, we would have been fine without him, just pure addition-wise, plus the scheme, there's just no reason to not think that they will improve on last year, which, even at 7-10, it was a disaster half the time. 6 of those losses are brutal and should not have happened. Or they were brutal in terms of we got blown the fuck out and embarrassed, instead of just a blown lead and embarrassed. So when you lay all that out there, plus the fact that Caleb Williams in 7 plays or 10 plays, however long he was out there, did things that we have not seen in this city, certainly not consistently, but if ever, right away, the first play goes poorly and they're backed up and they're behind the sticks. And I'm like, oh no, right away. This is everything that we're used to. And this is a nightmare. And all of instantly one play, I was like, everything bad that's ever happened to us is already starting again right here. And then boom, 3rd and 12. He goes to DJ Moore on a deep curl route with 3 defenders around him and lasers it right into him, right on time, throws it before he breaks. DJ breaks directly to the ball, and we have a first down on a 3rd and 12. Listen to me. A 3rd and 6 was a nightmare for us last year. It meant we're punting because it meant Getsy's either throwing a screen or running a draw, or Justin's holding the ball and taking a sack. We had nothing. And to watch a guy truly go through his progressions, stay confident and calm in the pocket, look one way, look another way, and deliver a strike to the right spot, to the right guy, at the right time, in the right place. It's everything. It's what a quarterback should do, but it's everything that we have been missing for my entire life. Again, outside of like those 2 years when Cutler wasn't throwing mad interceptions, but even when he was, like the line, there was always something in the way. There was always something in the way. It's Mike Martz and with no offensive line, expecting him to hold the ball forever. It's now the offense is good and we actually have weapons on offense, and the defense is terrible now. We are finally at the happiest medium in the history of the Chicago Bears, in my opinion. I mean, outside of like 1985 where everything was just perfect and we had the best running back in history, like shit like that. This is the best situation in the history of the team. I'm not a true historian, so maybe there was a year where the hype was crazy. But I mean, our offensive numbers historically outside of running back and probably tight end, I guess, are atrocious. And like the most embarrassing, you can throw the Cleveland Browns in there, the Detroit Lions. Like they all at least managed individual guys, even if the teams weren't good. We now have the best skill positions top to bottom that we've ever had. And Caleb being capable, calm, confident, knowing what he's doing. And this is preseason week 1. Again, I get it. But we've never had a guy come out in preseason week 1 and do anything like this. Just operate like a true professional, talented quarterback. And he comes in with all the hype and expectation in the world, but he has had all of that. And he seems like he can handle anything that comes at him. The guy is cool, calm, collected, professional, mature. Every time he speaks, he seems engaged. He seems beloved. And I just don't see how this doesn't translate. Again, knock on wood. Give me some wood. If everybody just can power through, we can keep him healthy, which I don't think will be a problem for him personally. If the skill guys can all just make it to the season. We got week 1 against Tennessee. I don't feel strongly about Tennessee at all. I believe we're at home also. That should be the best way for him to start his NFL career possible. Vibes are high. Vibes are high. He threw that dart on the run to Kmet. Fields could have maybe made that throw. Maybe, but I don't know if he delivers that ball on time. Like, he physically could have thrown the ball on the run that well, but he probably would have done it late. And, I mean, the half no-look pass to Swift on a screen, nobody on the team has ever been able to do that in history. And I know that that's like a relatively new development in style for quarterbacks in the NFL. But we watched Mitch get his ass kicked by our second team defensive line, and our first team defensive line gets nothing but shit across the league. And rightfully so. They haven't really proven anything at all outside of Montez Sweat. So again, prayers that Dexter levels up and that Austin Booker kid seems pretty real so far, but that's where preseason is like, that doesn't really mean anything, and I get that. But just showing Caleb be able to operate the offense, I've loved everything he's done so far in terms of media engagement and just watching, anything I can get my hands on. Everything has looked the part. This is no matter what happens, Ryan Poles pulled off the greatest fleece trade in NFL history. Now, there's like the glaring ones where Ditka traded his whole draft for Ricky Williams and stuff. I don't know what the results of that netted out to be, but the fact that all they got was Bryce Young, and we now have DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, Tyreek Stevenson. I mean, you've looked at the graphic before, I'm sure, and we still will get a second rounder in this next year, which will, without a doubt, be like the last pieces of the puzzle. Our first 3 picks in next year, we can go O-line, D-line, and we're ready to go for the foreseeable future. I mean, at the very least, if this season doesn't lead to something, again, all I need is for him to look like he's getting right, if not already playing well. The next 2 to 4 years, based on the way our contracts are, like, again, it would take a massive disaster compared to just, we threw Justin Fields into the fire and it didn't work out and he didn't really end up being the guy and he didn't really have the tools necessary, combined with, again, the lack of support system around him to make it work. That's completely different from Caleb being higher touted with higher expectations, like expected to be better than Justin Fields from the jump, no matter what situation he landed in, to then landing in the most ideal situation possible. Like right now, truly the expectations, and not even the expectations, just the potential that we have now is as great as it ever could be. So yes, I get it. I'm here for the 3rd year in a row going, look, man, they could be something. I get it. And it's preseason week 1. But they truly, on paper, at the very least, should be something. And going forward, there is a real reason to be optimistic about where this could go. So that's my case. I get it. I know that I'm the guy who looked fucking stupid last year, and I was open about that in being miserable and devastated. And here's the thing. I'm in love, and if my heart gets broken again, so what? You can't deny true love, and everybody who wants to act like I'm just a guy who falls easily, hey, that's fine, but I know what I see, and I know where things could go, and this just feels real this time. And I'm ready. I'm ready for the pain. This is the greatest thing about football season. Here's the thing also, though. If you're not going to invest in your team and try to talk yourself into them winning each year, like, what's the point of even being a fan? Like, you have to look at every little positive that you can and try to turn that into, like, hey, if a couple things go our way, that's just the right way to do it. Now, outside of being a Chicago White Sox fan where you have no business doing that, like this year especially, what's the point of being a football fan? If you are the Carolina Panthers, you should be dreading going into this year, for example. But there are reasons to have some optimism, because you improved. And last year, I'm sure they went in, oh, we got Bryce Young. That should be awesome. Despite all the other moves, saying the contrary. And now, oh, we added this, and this, Bryce Young, year 2, Like, you can make a million excuses as to why your team at the very least will be better. And then you're going to naturally be like, well, and if this, and this happens, we could maybe be pushing for a playoff. And now, if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, I can tell you right now, you have no chance at making the playoffs at all. But maybe you will be better. And last year, you probably should have told me, and most people did, that the Bears have no chance at making the playoffs. And they would have been wrong. They definitely had a chance late. But yeah, the circumstances in the early part of the season were as disastrous as you could imagine. And that was a complete nightmare. I just think polls and the culture with Kevin Warren and everything, it just seems like they've really weeded out the shitty coaches and the shitty personnel. And outside of Nate Davis, that's kind of rough right now. But I got the blinders on, I guess. I just think the counter arguments that would have been there before aren't there. And I also understand if you don't believe me, because I'm the guy every year yelling on the corner, like, this is our time to finally, start leveling up. But it's real. Come on, guys. This team's going to be awesome. At least going for, again, like, I'm not saying this season we're going to, like, go to the NFC title game. But I think we'll be in the NFC title game within 3 years. Off of one preseason game. Like, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. The point is just Caleb seems like he's a real thing. Don't quote me on the NFC title game in 3 years. That's just pure, like, I see nothing but potential, and that's where this potential should lead. But I think this season Caleb Williams will, at the very least, like, truly be a contender for Rookie of the Year and, like, actually will play well. And that's the greatest thing I could ever ask for. So that's preseason week 1. Can't wait to see where this leads. On to another sports adjacent topic here. Last night, I finally had the opportunity, if that's what you want to call it, to watch Luca Guadagnino's Challengers, starring Zendaya and 2 guys. I don't know if those guys are known, and I don't care. I didn't feel like looking it up. This is a tennis romance. That's it, I guess, a tennis romance movie. There's not really anything else going on worth talking about. And there was a lot of hype towards this. It did surprisingly well at the box office. Great critical score. Famously has a male-female threesome scene that got everybody's attention. And I didn't like this movie, frankly. Just going to come out and say it. And there's a few reasons why. There's some things that I absolutely liked about this. There's some things that I definitely loved about this movie. Overall, I was just kind of bored, is really the main part of this. I kind of thought that there would be a lot more tennis. There's not enough tennis in this. The tennis scenes are great. They're shot incredibly well and uniquely. At some point they switch to first person. At a certain point, the ball has a camera in it. Either way, they capture the action really well for a film. And that's it. Like, the tennis scenes truly just are excellent. As good as not that I've seen too many movies about tennis ever, really. But the tennis scenes are, like, excellent. And they go great with the Trent Reznor Atticus Ross score, which is by far the number 1 winner of the movie. It's just banging. They're the best at scoring movies, probably in history, as far as I'm concerned. Like, not literally, if you want to go in history, but, like, they're my favorite all time. I'll never stop talking about the Social Network score. I think it is the best score I've ever heard. I listen to it as an album constantly. As far as scores go, like, much more than any other one. This will definitely be added to that. Like, I will listen to this. There's some bangers in here. Sometimes it outpaces the scene a little bit. Like, there's a lot of up-tempo stuff in here, but man, the music is just truly great. The movie is told also non-linearly, but it's not interesting in that way, and it totally just breaks up the momentum that they have, where the general story is 2 dudes came up together in the tennis world, whatever, like as teenagers. They were playing together. They won a doubles tournament. Zendaya is also a hot young women's tennis prodigy. These guys, they're all young tennis hotshots. One dude goes pro. The other dude stays in school. Zendaya also stays in school. The dude that goes pro is fucking Zendaya. The other dude wants to be fucking Zendaya. But the dude goes pro and then, like, leaves. So the other dude kind of snakes his way in and whatever. Prior to this, before the dude actually decides to go pro, Zendaya comes to their hotel room. They start having, like, a threesome makeout session, and then the dudes just keep making out with each other while Zendaya's beneath them, and then she's just like, all right, I'm going to go. And it's like, how do you fumble the bag on a threesome that hard? She basically just made you guys realize you're gay for each other. Which, here's the thing. I just want to make it clear that none of my beef in this is that gay stuff happens in the movie. It's just that, like, I can only look at this as a guy who would not be into the other guy. So my thing is, like, there's a chick there trying to fuck you. What's going on? And I get it. That's straight guy brain for sure. But the whole movie is also about both of them still just trying to get Zendaya's approval the whole time. So it's like, I don't know. There's just no scenario in my life where I would ever get wrapped up in making out with a dude when there's a chick there. So to me, there's just zero relatability to this scene. And all I can think is, how do you fumble the bag this hard? She's there. You know? If you got to eat one and, hey, there's another dude there, hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But there's no scenario in which that's where my focus goes. So anyway, whatever. So then basically after that moment, the one dude pursues her. He goes pro. They maintain a long distance relationship. The other dude tries to snake his way in there. In trying to snake his way in there, it kind of works. And then Zendaya and the pro also just kind of have beef with each other because she's like trying to coach him. And he's like, I'm a pro. Like, we're equals. You're not better than me. Like, you shouldn't be telling me what to do. And he then does not attend one of her matches. She blows out her knee, is injured like forever. Can't pursue a professional career. It fucks her up too much. That in turn, she leaves the pro guy and ends up with the other dude. He accepts that she will be his trainer, and he accepts that he'll just like be her whipping boy and will do whatever she says forever. And so he ends up going pro over time. They end up getting married, having a kid. But he is essentially just whipped to her permanently, and that's it. And she basically marries him because he's actually good at tennis, and that is like what she cares about. But the dude eventually like meets up with her for some, like during something or whatever. And the husband who, you know, won in the end is aware, like watches her cheat on him basically, and just doesn't really say anything. Now, again, I'm telling this in what the proper timeline would be. They constantly just keep cutting back from present day to this at the worst times, because the present day storyline has all the momentum from the beginning. So I do kind of think that if they did tell it linearly, it would be kind of just boring from the jump instead of boring sporadically. But I don't know. I just don't think it works non-linear, and they could have just told this straight through and it would have made a lot more sense. So anyway, then after that, we're pretty much caught up to present day. They're in some tournament. The dude who went pro is now like homeless, just trying to scrape by in tournament money, like month to month, whatever, to get by, like whatever winnings he can get, he gets by, but he's like living in his car. Meanwhile, the other dude is just doing this tournament to like get out of a funk so he can prepare for the US Open. He has like a ton of career, like genuine pro accolades, and they have like a ton of money and whatever. He ends up being at this tournament and, you know, ends up trying to talk to both of them. The dude just kind of says like, fuck off. I went pro. Like I am who you wish you could be, especially with my wife and whatever. And the other dude is like, okay, whatever, man. And then goes and fucks Zendaya again. And she's like, I want you to lose on purpose so he doesn't break his confidence. And then fucks him so he'll do it. And it's like, the reveal is they both are in love with the homeless pro guy. Zendaya just loves tennis and the homeless guy, and not her husband who she has a child with. The other dude genuinely loves Zendaya and also loves the homeless guy. But she won't have him. Anyway, and then he finds out that they fucked because of this other thing that was revealed earlier in the movie, which was a good callback. And then instead of throwing the game, they kind of duke it out for real. And then the dudes hug each other at the end and Zendaya cheers. So basically Zendaya gets to cheat on her husband and ruin her marriage and fuck around while the father is at the hotel room with their daughter, by the way. She just gets up in the middle of the night and is like, I'm taking an Uber somewhere, and it's the other dude, and then she just fucks him in his car that he lives in. And this is and I've heard this thing as like some girl power thing. It's like, it's not girl power when you're married. I'm sorry. Like, you've already cheated on him while you're married, and now you have a kid and you're doing it again, and it's like, you somehow think this is supposed to boost his confidence, even though the dude learns in the end that it happens, and he somehow like takes that as fuel instead of being like, so he's a cuck, he's a bisexual cuck is what this movie's about, and that he needed to be cucked to be good at tennis. Listen, I'm sorry. You can call me old-fashioned. You could maybe even, whatever. I don't really know what argument you could make to be like, oh, this is about sexual fluidity, whatever. What the connection between this like being about tennis just makes no sense to me. I guess I'm a straight guy who likes sports, so to me none of this makes any sense in terms of sports either. So, hey, maybe this movie just truly wasn't for me outside of the music. It just did not work for me at all because they built it up so much, and then the end is he spikes the ball really hard, and then the two embrace in the middle of the tennis court, which would be the most flabbergasting thing in the world for anybody in attendance. And then Zendaya just goes crazy, and she just gets to completely get what she wants. I'm sorry. That just made no sense. He should have... The way the ending should have gone is once the dude tips off that he fucked his wife, there should just be a brawl in the tennis court. They shouldn't make up and become friends. Like, it's just the most absurd thing in the world, the way everyone behaves in every moment in this movie. The fact that she would want to fuck this homeless dude in his car, God, I could give a fuck about old time's sake. You don't, like, you're a rich lady now. If you're going to cheat on your husband with somebody, like, you do it on a level up or like whatever, or it's like a petty thing to get back at him, but she's trying to do this secretly and to boost his confidence. It just none of the motives add up to when you would fuck the grungy dude. You know what I mean? You would never want to hide that to help your husband. Like, you would only do that for negative motivation, to be like vindicated or out of spite or something. Just none of it added up. That's all I can really say. And, I just did not, it just didn't click with me at all. Again, the tennis scenes were great, and that present day stuff was awesome, but the present day stuff is sprinkled throughout a 2-hour, 10-minute movie because they're just like, oh, now it's 5 years ago. Okay, now we'll show you 3 more minutes of present day. Now it's 4 years ago. Now we'll show you 3 more minutes. Like, you know what I mean? And then it just like slowly builds up towards present day with closer and closer flashbacks. It's like, if you would have just told me all this, then the last 30 minutes of this movie would have been riveting and awesome. And the ending still would have been super disappointing. But at the very least, we would have gotten like a good direct 25, whatever, however long it would be, straight minutes, instead of that being spread out with a bunch of boring shit in between, just about people having conversations. Like, I get it. We need the backstory to learn how they got here and all this stuff. Just make this a traditional movie and it's way better. I'm sure that that's a main criticism because there's no way that people thought that that was an effective storytelling device in this case. But check out the soundtrack. It's fucking banging. And hey, maybe you'll love this movie if you're into being a cuck and being gay. If you're a gay cuck, this movie's for you. All right. Look, I just don't know where the hype is. And also, it's labeled as a threesome scene. They don't fuck. They just make out and then she leaves. So also a little bit of false advertising. I was kind of disappointed. Like, I didn't think it was going to be like a hardcore DP scene or something, but I thought it would have been a little more risque, especially given the Call Me By Your Name is this guy's like, was his like big breakout movie. This was relatively tame compared to that, but I haven't seen that also. So maybe that's not even true. Not a big Luca guy, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to Requiem for a Tuesday. Appreciate you supporting the show. Give us a like, give us a review, give us a subscribe. Check out all the links in the description below. Anything helps. We really appreciate it. Share the episode, share the show, get the word out there. All of that helps a lot. So whatever you can do, we appreciate it. And remember, I are fat. You are fat. We are fat. Calculator.